Welcome to the Piece by Piece Autism Podcast with your hosts, Angie and Christi. They've worked 25 years to help Alec get the most out of life. Let them tell you how they're doing it.
Welcome back to Piece by Piece Autism Podcast. We are glad you are here. Christi and I talk all about our years of experience with her youngest son, Alec. Alec has severe autism, is nonverbal, and now lives in Utah in a group home setting. He's a pretty cool 28-year-old guy who continues to grow and exceed our expectations. He's living his best life, and we are here to share with you what we have learned along the way. Today, we've got a little bit of a different and unique episode as we are going to review some TV shows and movies that showcase different characters who are autistic. And in doing so and in reviewing some of these, it's been interesting to find some of the parallels as we have obviously known Alec throughout these years. And to do this review of TV shows is Christi's brother, Mike Greer. I'm going to let Christi introduce Mike.
Mike Greer is not only one of my best friends, but he's also my brother, and he's about 2 years older than me. We had a wonderful life growing up in Lubbock, Texas together, doing all those fun kid things that you do in the 60s and 70s. And he works for the State Department now. He's at the end of that career and has lived in all kinds of countries, speaks all kinds of languages, although he would only tell you he speaks two. And he's a great cook. He just recently, his specialty is
Schnitzel.
Schnitzel. That's right. He just made it for us, and it has the best gravy ever. Anyway, he has a ton of friends. If you go into a store with him and you come out in a timely manner, that would be a miracle, because he will see everybody along the way and he'll know several people. It doesn't matter what country you're in, but he will do that. He has a wife and 3 adult children. And we welcome him to the show and thank him for the subject of these movies and television shows about people with autism, because this was his brainchild. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, kind of a fun take to review and think about how autism has been portrayed in kids, in adults, in different scenarios, different family dynamics and everything. So we're going to kick it off with our old standard with Rain Man. So Rain Man is about a self-centered businessman whose name is Charlie. He discovers that he has an estranged older brother, Raymond, who is an autistic savant. And Raymond lives in a care facility, an institution of sorts back in the day. After taking Raymond on a cross-country trip, Charlie really begins to understand him, understand his autism, and forms a connection in a new way with this sibling. The film really helped bring autism into mainstream conversation, even though it represents kind of a unique and specific form, with Raymond being this savant. So what did you guys think about Rain Man?
Okay, Rain Man. I think that was my first encounter with autism, and I didn't really know what it was. It came out in 1988. It had one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, Dustin Hoffman. It had another star that had just come off Top Gun, Tom Cruise. And it really was, to me, very, very interesting the way it portrayed this condition, which I don't think I knew what it was. And it was so well done because they're excellent actors. But one thing that I read about when I was reading on it was how much it raised awareness for autism at the time. And of course, 1988, I don't think there was a lot out about it, either on TV or in the movies. And according to what I have read, the funding for medical research in autism just went through the roof after this movie.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's great to know.
It was a global phenomenon, as they say, won 4 Oscars and a bunch of other awards. And it was the highest grossing film of 1988.
Wow.
So the awareness that it raised, I think more than anything else was the achievement of this movie. Now, all of the things, whether how realistic it is, that's what I wanted to. That's why I had this idea. I was in the army. I watch military movies, war movies. I see all kinds of inaccuracies. I see movies or TV shows about the State Department, about the Foreign Service. I see all kinds of inaccuracies. I don't trust
Yeah.
Hollywood to give an accurate portrayal of anything. So that's why I was wondering how close is this? I think some of it is close. I think some
Oh,
of it
yeah.
is accurate. But I want to get I'm more interested in what you guys have to say about that. I like the fact that Dustin Hoffman did his research with Kim Peek,
Yeah.
who is they call him a mega savant
Mm-hmm.
who just know he's memorized 10,000 books, 12,000 books, and just an incredible
Wow.
person.
Yeah.
And but I don't know if he's autistic or not because some
He's,
savants are autistic, some autistics are not savants.
yeah.
But when, while doing the research, Dustin Hoffman didn't think that that was the right fit for him, so he apparently added autism to his
Hmm.
character. That's kind of the impression I got.
Whenever I was watching it, it was a little bit painful because Raymond reminded me so much of Alec. Because Alec is profoundly autistic, it was interesting that Raymond had speech, but it wasn't super functional
Right.
speech. He was
Right.
very ritualistic. He was very scripted. He was very, Wapner at 3, Wheel of Fortune.
Jeopardy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeopardy, Kmart for, that whole thing. I was listing out the things as I was watching the movie of all of his autism traits, and so many of them are similar. His gait
Yes.
was so interesting. He got that gait so perfect. Dustin Hoffman, the little crook of his head, the way that
Hmm.
he kind of tilts his head is so indicative of how Alec tilts his head and how other autistic people who I know tilt their
Yeah.
head. Angie, do you remember much from this movie? I know it's been a while for you.
I mean, I remember kind of the order in which he had to have things done or placement of
Yeah.
items, all of
Right.
that
Right.
ritualistic predictability that is a
Yeah.
trait that we see across the board with individuals
Yeah.
with autism. So, and then meltdowns, I think
Yeah.
some of those
Yeah.
portrayed, we talked about this earlier, just
Yeah.
they would recover a lot quicker than probably is realistic, right?
Yeah.
So
That's the main criticism I've heard about it, is that it's so
yeah,
realistic. It's amazing how realistic it is. But then you've got that part where he hears an alarm go off and he starts banging his head or banging the door and screaming. And as soon as the sound goes away,
he's
he's
done.
able to
Yeah,
de-escalate. And that's not the way that
That's
is typical.
yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, that's not typical. You can't be up here. I even think for typical people, it's hard to be up here and have something stop irritating you
and
and you
jump
go down
back to
here.
baseline. Yeah, totally true.
Yeah.
I also liked this point you had brought up about having no sense of humor, because we have
Yeah.
often been discussing what a sense of humor Alec does have. And we talked
Yeah.
about this with Sharisa and her son, what a sense of humor he has. And so I think that was another kind of portrayal that does not align with our experience with Alec.
But I think part of that is because Alec expresses himself through the
Yep,
board.
that was my next thought. Yep.
And I feel like Soma used to say when she taught him the board, she said a lot of autistic people can kind of get intimidated speaking with someone directly. And I think the board gives him a little bit of standing behind the curtain and expressing himself. I don't know. Does
Yeah.
that kind of
Yeah,
jive?
it's maybe
Mhm.
not as
Mhm.
intense or
It's
intimidating.
not
or-
direct.
yeah.
He's kind of protected as he speaks, with someone else doing his speaking for him, but him expressing himself through the letterboard. I don't know. It's just, it just gives a barrier that he's comfortable with. I think just expressing
Yeah.
himself. And ritualistic and scripted language is not very expressive. It isn't expressive. It's
Yeah.
I'm repeating something that I have already been taught.
Yes.
So there's not a lot of expression in it, where Alec has a lot of expression in the way that he communicates.
That's good.
Other thoughts on this one, Mike?
I didn't like the way Charlie is his name, played by Tom Cruise, that he initially kind of encountered Raymond, didn't know that he was his brother, didn't know he had
Yeah.
a brother, and was extremely angry that he didn't inherit the money that Raymond inherited.
Yeah.
And he was just a super selfish person who wanted that money for his business, and he couldn't understand, why his father had done that. But I think over the course of the movie, there's a change. He comes to
Yeah.
more understand him. In the beginning, it was like he wanted to, he kidnapped him from the institution. And then they drove in that old car, which I think that was, a road trip brings people together. And I think, and who knows at that time if Charlie knew anything, had ever known anything about
Yeah.
autism or the spectrum.
Oh, yeah.
So I think also not only it's about Raymond, but it shows also the reaction of someone close to him who
Yeah.
eventually becomes, I think, close to him. I've seen Alec grow up, and I've seen your family's frustrations with some of the things that you've experienced with
Mhm.
him, and you love him. You love him.
Mhm. Yeah.
Whether he obviously you love him, and it's still, have to deal with that. In this movie, Charlie didn't love him at all. He didn't even know he existed a
Yeah.
day
Didn't
before he
know.
met him. So I kind of like that way it kind of changed the relationship.
Yeah, and what adaptations he had to figure out living side by side and adjusting himself to accommodate Raymond too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We love the use of a backpack for Alec. We've actually done a podcast about the backpack.
Yep.
We're
Oh,
super
I've heard
into the
it.
backpack. Yes.
I've
Thank you.
heard it.
Thank you. Thank you, my super fan. I loved it that in the end, Charlie figured out what Raymond's needs were and he packed them all into this
Yes.
bag.
Yeah.
And they showed him, holding on to that bag. And
Yeah.
I also loved it towards the end of the movie when he's making the decision to give Raymond back to the institution and they lean their heads into each other. I just cried like a baby at that point because you can feel that human connection, even though with
Yeah.
Raymond, that was so hard for him to connect. But I love that. And I've experienced those feelings of seeing closeness between siblings in our home. That meant a lot to me that they did that they showed that how Charlie evolved into a brother
Right.
instead of this selfish guy, like you were pointing out.
Right. I think it also is interesting that because it was a huge Hollywood movie and was such a big hit, they did not give in to the temptation to have a wonderful Hollywood ending where they lived
Yeah.
together and all that stuff. I don't know if that has anything to do with autism, but it gives a little bit more credibility.
I think it does have something to do with autism in that some of the things about it are heartbreaking and that you do
Well,
evolve.
yeah, exactly.
You evolve as a family and as your understanding grows about what this person needs that is so foreign to you. I was hoping that he would get back to the institution and to his routines and the people he knows.
That's
And
true.
I couldn't tell if the administrator cared about him, but I hoped he did. I really hoped he did. So anyway,
Yeah.
but we need to move on now to Temple
Sure.
Grandin, which is one of our absolute faves in
Yes.
Alec's house.
Yes.
It has done so much to educate me as a parent about how Alec sees the world. Because the way that he's communicated, I feel like he sees a lot of the world the same way Temple Grandin saw it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So, a quick synopsis of Temple Grandin. This movie was based in the 1960s, and obviously a time when autism was far less understood than it is today. But she is one of the most well known autistic advocates now. This is a biographical drama and based on her life. So, she really struggled with things like communication, sensory overload, social interactions, and a lot of people around her misunderstood her abilities, but she really pushed past some of those barriers and was able to make a difference. And she did this by developing this connection with animals, especially cattle, and was able to problem solve some of the livestock industry designs and making them more humane in how cattle are handled. Mike, what did you think about this movie?
I like the way that it portrayed how she perceives the world and how stimulants come toward her and she kind of just, shakes And it's more, it didn't happen in Rain Man. You didn't see that in Rain
Mm-hmm.
Man, where they use special effects and,
Yeah.
the tricks of the Hollywood tricks to kind of you put yourself into her
Yeah.
shoes. Well, you're seeing this, you're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
this is such it's overstimulation, or that's what I call it,
Yeah.
overstimulation. You're seeing so many things coming at you at once. And if she's seeing that all the time, I think it gives you a little more understanding in a Hollywood way. But it's like, okay, we're kind of simulating that the viewer is going through what she's going
Mm-hmm.
through. You know, and I really like that part of the movie. I love this movie. I loved it. I'd never heard of it until Christy mentioned it. I'm like, okay, I'll check it out. And I looked for it and I found it, and I found that it was Claire Danes.
Yeah.
She's incredible, and she can play this kind of character extremely well. I think you could feel as much as you could feel how she kind of sees the world. And I
Yeah.
think you're right. I think it shows you a lot of that, and how she had more interaction or more connection to the cattle than to the humans,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know.
I was really touched. Of course, I was seeing it through a mother's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So I was super touched by her mother.
Yes.
I, I thought her mother was completely unselfish in just letting her experience things. But at the same time, I wanted to say, don't you think you should go with her to college and get her moved in and help her
Settle
learn
in.
how to
Yeah.
introduce herself to? I felt
Yeah.
like she needed a little bit more social support. And who knows if that was accurately portrayed or
Right.
not. But on the one hand, her mother was someone I was cheering for. And I would say 95% of the time I'm cheering for her mother, saying, way to go, way to put her out there. I learned not from the movie, but researching, deep diving after the watching it. I'm like, where did the father go? Why did we not hear about the father? Well,
Ah,
the father thought that he was going with the way of the doctors, and he thought she
oh,
should go into an institution. Like
institution,
he,
Oh.
right.
yeah. And the mother was like, she will not go into an institution. She's got gifts. She's going to go somewhere. We're going to give her the proper support and she's going to get there. And she started early intervention, which was way before its
Yeah.
time. I mean, of
Yeah.
course, we know that's the way to go now. We knew that was the way to go when Alec was a little kid, but too much before that, there was not a huge amount of knowledge about early intervention and all the
Mm-hmm.
advantages of it. But she definitely benefited. And she is like our spokesperson, our mascot, if that doesn't sound too disrespectful, of the autism community. We
Hmm.
love Temple Grandin. If you hear she's going to speak somewhere, you got to go hear her speak. I unfortunately haven't ever crossed paths with her. I've come close, but I've not ever been able to meet her, but I've really wanted to because of the inspiration that she is. And I also, just one more thing, I loved how she had the mentor at her boarding school who really made all the difference in the world. Did he not, Mr.
Oh,
Karloff?
yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
I
Yeah, he
mean,
did. He was great.
he was the one that was really instrumental in getting her to go do the ag sciences
Mm-hmm.
studies and be able to go on. And I did also read, I don't know if y'all read this, but that 50% of the facilities now for cattle are her design in the
I
United
Yep.
yes,
States.
Read that.
I did see a stat like that, which is incredible. Like what amazing talents and contributions these individuals can make to society. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's truly
And I
inspirational.
did finish saying that the parents ended up divorcing when she was 15.
Oh, no, you didn't say that.
Right? Okay.
No.
I meant to end there and say that the parents kind of were
Yeah.
divergent over, partially over her, is what I read. Who knows if all of
Mm-hmm.
that's completely accurate, but there may have been other issues that we don't know about. But I loved how her mother just stuck with her. And I love at the end of the movie how the mother gets really the pat on the back when Temple actually finally gives her credit and announces to the big group of
Right.
people at the meeting saying, my mother didn't give up on me.
Oh,
She pushed me. And it just,
so
oh my gosh,
heartwarming.
it's just,
Hmm.
anyway, those are my main takeaways.
I liked also during that meeting where they didn't know she was autistic
Yeah.
and they were surprised. And then they said, how was your autism cured? And she said, I'm not cured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll always be
Yeah.
autistic.
Yeah.
But the fact that she got to that point where they didn't even know she was, and that's a
Yeah.
group of people, meeting about autism, that was pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
I love the insight she gives us. And of course, she's
Yeah,
famous for the saying different, not less. That's
right.
something that a lot of autistic people say. She has so many good quotes. I love it when she would say, "A door opened and I went through it."
Yes.
Because she saw everything as a door. It just really helped her visualize where she was going and kept her on the right track.
Yeah. I don't think someone who is neurotypical, is that the right word?
Mhm.
Yep.
Who could have done what she did because she was in a male-dominated
Yeah.
industry with
Yeah.
males who were basically telling her to shut up and
Yeah.
don't bring your crazy ideas around here. And then they
Yeah.
were tearing it apart when it had been built, the cattle
Yeah. That
Right.
chute.
broke my heart.
They were tearing it apart. And what she was like, and then when she would go out there before she built that, she saw they would drown 2 or 3 cows every day. It's like, yeah, whatever. But she was like, no, we can do something better. We can be humane. Sure, we're going to
Yeah.
slaughter them. I love that too. She's not
Yeah.
trying to save them from
Yeah.
slaughter. She's being very realistic.
Yeah.
And that's probably, I don't know, maybe that shows that she was emotionally somewhat detached from the fact that the cows were going to get slaughtered, but she wanted to be humane also. She says,
Yeah.
well, we're going to slaughter them, but we don't have to be mean
Yeah. Or
about it
panic
or
them.
Yeah.
whatever she
Yeah.
said.
Cause them
Yeah.
the
Yeah, we
She
can,
said,
and
stress
then
and all of that ahead of time.
yeah,
yeah.
and she talked about
Yeah.
that too, and all that stuff that she instinctively
Hmm.
knew, which I'm sure
Yeah.
is true, and then she comes out and she was so angry when they were tearing her thing apart. And the fact that, I mean, and she was a woman, a
Yeah.
young woman, and to all these grizzled, cowboys, the fact that she had no fear, that I think would not have happened if she was
Neurotypical.
Yeah.
neurotypical. You
She
know what I
Yeah.
had
mean?
she had
I
an extra
agree.
sense of determination and almost
Yep.
the
Grit.
grit and
Grit.
the naivety
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
like not getting
Yeah,
that
yeah, you
maybe
could
they're
say
Yeah.
making
that.
fun of her or digging at
She
her.
didn't care
She
about
didn't
that.
care. She
Mm.
was really on track to do what she knew she could see in her mind and
Yeah.
moved forward, plowed through.
It was very inspirational. There were times when I cried.
It was really good. If you have not seen Temple Grandin, we highly
Yeah.
recommend. We cannot recommend enough.
We highly recommend that one. Another one that we love is Parenthood, but we're not going to review that today. We're just going to tell you if you want to see a really good portrayal of an Asperger's guy, which I guess now is called high functioning autism on the spectrum. That is a really good one. The actor that portrays that is just
Oh, he did
exceptional.
phenomenal. As such a young kid too, in those first
Yeah. Yeah.
seasons. That one is
And
phenomenal.
seeing how I liked how that they show how the family kind of,
Mhm.
deals with it, the whole extended family, because
Right.
they're all very close families. So that leads us to Love on the Spectrum, which is a more modern day.
Yeah, reality TV with all sorts of individuals on the spectrum looking to find love.
I'm going to tell y'all are going to have to talk about this because I had a really hard time with it. I felt like I was watching something that was too personal and that shouldn't be watching. It felt too, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
it felt too vulnerable. I felt like they were being so vulnerable and I'm watching and I'm going, oh, I'm just back here,
yeah.
but I don't want you to see that I'm looking because I appreciate so much that y'all are trying so
Yeah.
hard. What do y'all think about it?
That I not watched the most recent episodes. Watched some of the earlier ones and enjoyed the individuals. I almost said characters because they are such characters.
Unique.
They are.
Yeah, and they're
They
funny.
are
and they're-
entertaining and they such big personalities And
Yeah.
it's interesting to watch how they interact and their social anxieties or lack thereof,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
are they missing the social
Maybe when they
cues?
should be a
Yes.
little bit more, you go,
So I agree. I can see what you mean about it just being a little bit like, ooh, what am I watching here?
Yeah. I'm just a cheerleader for them
Right.
too. Like I want them to do well, but I'm thinking of all the things that they have to
I know.
juggle
And
to
I'm
get to
thinking,
that point of
are they really
connection.
ready for this? Is this, is this the next
Yeah.
step for these guys? I don't know if this person is really
Yeah.
ready for love, or is this just some experiment
Yeah.
we're throwing these individuals into? And is that fair? I don't know.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
they sign up for this, or is
Exactly.
this something their family wanted for them? I don't know.
That's a good question. I didn't even think about that. I assume they all want to do
Yeah, I
it
mean, you would hope.
because they all, I think they're very sincere about wanting to find someone. And I think from what I have read about it, one of the things that people like about it is it dispels the myth that autistic people are not
Born.
interested in a
Hmm.
relationship or not
Mhm.
capable of a relationship, maybe. I love it
What do you love about it?
because it's uplifting.
Okay.
It's uplifting.
Yeah, that's
And
true. That's so true.
I've read several articles about it. One of the words that comes up in every article is heartwarming.
Ah, that's true.
Heartwarming. It's a heartwarming, optimistic, which, okay, maybe we need that right now, you know? You see how they prepare. You see all of them have, a support system
Yeah.
with their families. And that may be unrealistic, but I like it because you want them to succeed and you want them to be supported by the people around them. And I thought it was, I think it's realistic because they're real autistic
Yeah.
people. Whereas a lot of these movies don't have, you know, Dustin Hoffman's not
Yeah.
autistic. I think
Right.
that's been, of course, a criticism of Hollywood in general, that not just for autism, but for blind characters, for characters that can't walk, for that they're played by able
Able bodies. Yeah.
actors.
Yeah.
So why not? That's the way an actor gets an Oscar.
Right.
Dustin
Right.
Hoffman got an Oscar. Oh, you play a disabled person. Well, why not
Yeah.
let a disabled actor do it? So I think that's what I like about this. They're not acting. I mean, it's a reality show, but it's real autistic people who are dealing with
Hmm.
this. And I like the fact that they get together, like the one named Danny. She's amazing. She's the one that does the animation, and she's just a
Yeah.
chatterbox. And you're like, and in a way, you're like, okay, what's autistic about her? I don't know. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? She's so high. She's so
Yeah.
high functioning,
Yeah.
but you do see it. You do see it.
Yeah.
And she's with a guy she falls in love with on the first date, and they're smooching it up. It's very.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I like it.
I'm
No,
covering
that's
Oh
my
my
eyes
gosh.
over here.
Christy.
and they're sitting at the table, and she says, "Oh, I'm in love. I'm in love." And I'm like, "Oh my God, no, not now.
No,
Not
no, not
not the
yet.
first date. Not the first date."
Oh no.
But I just liked how high functioning she is and how brilliant she is, really, because
Yeah.
a lot of people can't do the things she does. She started an animation company when she was 14,
That's crazy.
things like
Yeah.
that.
Wow. That's
And the
incredible.
other one, the other one named Abby, she compares herself to Little Mermaid
She does the
or
hats, right?
Ariel.
She does the hats
Yeah.
by Abby, I think is actually her Instagram. But they all have these Instagram followings that I think are just really sweet, where people are
Oh, I
genuinely
love that.
into seeing them succeed. And I think that's really
Yeah.
heartwarming too, is that they
Yeah.
feel, rallied by their community to cheer them on, whether it is, finding love on the spectrum or just being who they
Yeah.
are. And I appreciate your point to say they aren't actors. They are living their authentic life on camera. And it is really amazing of them to kind of let the viewers and the cameras in to get a better
Oh,
take
yeah.
and look at that. And I think that alone is doing the autism community a grand gesture to just give a
Yeah.
little bit
Exactly.
more acceptance and, tolerance
Yeah,
to that population because they deserve all the respect of the world.
Yeah.
exactly. I mean,
Agreed.
speaking of Abby, I loved at the end of her date, which she loved, not the one that smooched the guy, but she didn't smooch him, but I just really liked her. I don't know why, but I could see that she struggled with a lot of things. But at the end, they just had such good time. They liked the same animals. He loves lions,
Yes.
she loves lions. And at the end of the thing, he says, "So, will I see you again?" Which is, I think, a normal thing you say at the end of a date, or a guy would
Yeah.
say at the end of the date.
Yeah.
Am I going to, will I see you again? And she said, "I don't know. I'll think about it.
I love
And I'll tell
that.
my mom. I'll tell my
Yeah.
Yeah.
mom." And I like, okay, she's
Yeah.
autistic. That
Yeah.
seems like
I love
something
that.
that I know people I
Yeah.
know on the spectrum that they would say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And it kind of helps you to know that, hey, I know somebody who said that, so that's okay. It's the
Yeah.
way they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
It's the way they
They're
answer.
innocent. They just say what's on their
They're
Yeah.
mind.
very
They're,
honest. Yeah, they're very
yeah, they're
honest.
honest. They're forthright. They don't hold back like we
And
Yeah.
do, you
I
know?
did actually read today, whenever I was doing some Googling, that Abby and David were together 5 years,
Yeah.
but
They just
Oh,
broke
they
up.
just split
Yep.
up, but amicably. They're still
Yeah.
friends.
that's good.
So
Well, I mean, she didn't know if it was going to work out. So,
not
okay,
up to the first date.
this brings us to The Good Doctor, which, okay, I'm watching it for the first time over the last few weeks and going, this is the most over dramatized
Yes.
show.
Yes.
Yes, and this is very much in keeping with that as we watch Dr. Sean Murphy, who is a young autistic surgeon with savant abilities. He joins this residency program and with his autism kind of struggles obviously with the communication, with the relationship with his coworkers, but his medical insight is just mind blowing. He obviously has skills with his savant abilities that really make him a fantastic surgeon. What was your take on this one?
I was reading because I was like, after they depicted him in that very first, the first few scenes, I'm like, how many guys and girls on the spectrum are actually savants? And found that there are only 10%.
10%.
10%. And
Right.
then of that, there are only 75 individual people in the world who are
Oh, wow.
prodigy savants. That's worldwide. Worldwide.
Mhm.
So I guess we're calling this character a savant for the purposes of, I mean, this is totally all fake, but there's many parts of his character that are very, in keeping with,
Accurate.
yeah, very
Yeah.
accurate for a savant. What
Yeah,
did
I would
y'all, okay,
agree.
what do y'all think? Could
Well,
any part of it actually happen?
No.
no, I don't think so. But
Yeah.
my take on it, because I asked this question, how accurate is it of all of the
Mm-hmm.
things that we're watching? And not the only reason to watch it, but I'm like, okay, this is probably the least of the four that we've discussed.
Yeah,
The
I
least
agree.
the least
Yeah.
realistic. No, I shouldn't, not accurate,
Yeah.
but realistic.
Realistic.
Because
Yeah.
the realistic, I think there's parts of it, like you say, his routines, the use
Yeah.
of timer, as Angie
Yeah.
mentioned, the
Oh,
use
we
of
love
the
that.
timer. I'm not normally a flashback guy. I don't like flashback.
Yeah.
I can't ever keep straight
Yeah.
what year are we in.
Yeah.
But I like this one because it goes back to his childhood, and he did not
Mm-hmm.
have a supportive
Yeah.
environment. His
Yeah.
mother tried, but his father was very overbearing. Tough love was the best way, or whatever.
Yeah.
And the poor brother did his best to protect him against the bullies, and he was his support system. That's all he had. With all these people against him
Yeah.
on the hospital board, how did he get to the point where he is now, where he's a brilliant, about to be surgeon? He must have gone through a lot of other boards where people
Yeah.
didn't want him. You know what I mean? He didn't just magically become a surgeon. So
Yeah.
that's something where I was questioning. I do like the actor. I really like Freddie Highmore. I think he's a great actor.
Yeah.
He gets to the point where he's going to the place where the hospital is, and he's in the airport, and then that thing falls on that kid.
Yeah.
all the glass, and the glass goes through. I mean, nothing about that, the way that fell, could make the glass go through his neck. You know, I mean, just the way it fell, it couldn't have made it. But then
Yeah.
it goes this huge gash in his neck, jugular is slashed, and he's got a big piece of glass in his leg, and he's running around looking for for a bottle of whiskey
Yeah.
to and then to looking for
Sanitize.
a knife, and you're like, okay, this guy's jugular is
Yeah.
slashed and he's bleeding. This Sir Dr. Murphy runs all over the airport, to get all this makeshift stuff. It's entertaining.
I
mean,
kept
it's
saying,
very unrealistic.
where the heck are the
Yeah.
EMTs?
Yes, that's what I said.
What
They
took
had-
the EMTs so long?
They have EMTs at every major airport. I looked that up. I did a deep dive.
Okay.
It is entertaining, though. I think it's a fun show
It
to
is
watch. I really
entertaining.
like it, and I like
is
the
a fun show.
characters. I like
Yeah.
how they develop and come to find him more endearing as it goes on.
And
Well,
and the alliances
Yeah.
of like the people that become
Right.
cheerleaders for him very gradually, but come to really appreciate
Mm-hmm.
his intelligence and his gifts and say he's not a joke. He's somebody to be taken seriously. He needs some help with the little rough
Yeah,
around
his
the edges
delivery,
part of him.
because he's so blunt with the
His
patients. They're
delivery.
like, whoa, whoa, whoa,
Yeah.
you can't say that. And he's like, but she's gonna die.
But she is
They're
gonna
like,
die.
okay, but like,
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
sense of
That's
of
not how we
bedside
do it.
manner.
I like that part, and I like the fact that, and I don't know if this is realistic either. I mean, I like it, but I'm wondering that how fast he
Mm-hmm.
learns. Because when they say, don't say this because you're scaring the patients, then the next scene, he says, can we talk outside? And
Yeah.
I'm like, is that really, do they learn that quickly? I mean, I'm not saying learn, but I'm saying,
Yeah.
do they change
Yeah,
the
change
behavior
Put
the
it
that
into
behavior,
quickly? Because-
practice. Change the
Yeah.
behavior. I actually think that is not too unrealistic in my mind that could
Well, that's good.
happen.
I'm happy to hear
Angie, what
that.
do you think though? I mean, I think that's
I mean, I
actually
would think for
plausible.
someone who's got this savant, mind, it seems more doable than
Maybe.
your average bear. I mean, I can't change my behavior that quickly. I think I'd have to really
Well, I
internalize and think, have a few exposures. Yeah.
I had a consultant tell me about how to handle an adult who is a friend of mine who has autism. And I said, oh, I can't get this person to realize this. And the consultant suggested I say, this is a rule. And if you give them information in a very structured way like that, and you use the words rule
Okay.
Yeah.
and procedure, that really resonates with a person with an Asperger's high functioning autism brain.
Yeah.
So maybe
Yeah.
it is possible.
Maybe
Maybe
so.
so.
Well, I like the way that he doesn't
Yeah.
understand sarcasm
Yeah.
when he most likely encountered it before.
Oh,
But
yeah.
whenever, you know what I mean, it looks like he's encountering
Yeah.
these things for the first time. That's how TV works. The head of the team, that doctor, when he says something, he says, "Oh," and then he answers him literally. He says, "That was sarcasm." He goes, "Oh." And then then in another scene, he says, "Oh, oh." And then he knows already. He goes, "Oh, you're being sarcastic because you already know everything I'm telling you." And he said, "Yes." And I'm like, "Okay, he's very
Yeah.
very smart."
Yeah.
And if that's realistic, that's awesome. I'm glad that part's realistic
Yeah. I don't know.
because I
Well,
like
and
that.
he must realize too that part of what he's doing there is being a brilliant surgeon, but the other part of it is that he is in a learning situation.
Right.
So he has to he probably does internalize that since he's been in learning situations that's
Mhm.
gotten him to that point.
Right. I also like the fact that so far his autism affects his
Mhm.
interactions with people.
Yeah.
And his relationships, but not his work.
Yeah.
He's brilliant at medicine, surgery, but he's not good
Yeah.
interacting with people.
Yeah.
But the autism does not make him make mistakes as a surgeon. Although it may happen in the future, but I hope not.
Procedural things he does can be memorized and they can be learned. The social parts are more subjective. And so that makes it,
Right.
you
And for
can't
him,
script it.
probably for him, they're not as important.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, For
exactly.
him, it's more important to be honest.
So what is our
Yeah.
favorite out of all of these as we end here? What is your favorite of all the ones that we actually watched?
I've got to go Temple Grandin.
I'm going
Yeah.
with Temple Grandin by far.
I think I'm going to go also with Temple Grandin with Rain Man as a close second.
Good choice.
Yes, I agree with that because Rain Man raised so much awareness for autism.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you pointed that out because I was not aware of that. And I'm glad that you said that.
I think Rain Man is a significant milestone. It couldn't be. It was like the grandfather or the granddaddy
Yeah,
of the movies and TV shows about autism. Because all of a
yeah,
sudden, as I said, the medical research funding floodgates opened. That is the actual quote.
yeah,
And diagnoses increased because of the
yeah,
awareness. Temple Grandin, unfortunately, I never heard of it.
yeah.
And so that didn't the way the artistic value
Yeah.
is amazing.
I don't think it was promoted well enough because I had not really heard about it.
It's probably big in the autism community. I mean, it's more
Yeah.
people are more aware of it
Hopefully.
because
Exactly.
Temple Grandin
Yeah.
is a hero
And a
Yeah,
or a
we
spokeswoman.
love
heroine.
her.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is. They're not making this movie about a football player. They're making
Yeah,
this movie
yeah.
about an autistic person. And that
Yay!
is,
It is a
yes,
win.
that's a win.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a
it's
W.
win. It's a win.
That's one in the W column. You know what I mean?
Yes,
So I
sir.
think, and I am excited that I've watched these because I've watched the
Yeah, the
classics,
classic.
but we can
Well,
watch
it's
it.
nice that autism's being represented more and more with a lot
I think
of
so. I
accuracy
think
in a
so.
lot of ways and not in other ways, but I think that could be said of just about any kind of disability or situation, like you said, war shows, or we know medical shows being dramatized, etc. But thanks so much for joining us today, Mike, and for talking through these shows. Again, I guess our big plug is if you have not watched it, go and check out Temple Grandin.
I want to own that movie.
We
It's
love your
worth it.
endorsement. We love your endorsement.
I recommend it to all.
Well, on that note, we will wrap up today's episode of Piece by Piece Autism Podcast. If you're loving these conversations as much as we are, hit that follow button, share the show, and help us spread the word. Because every piece of the story matters. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Piece by Piece Autism Podcast. That's PIECE, Piece by Piece Autism Podcast. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.